It is the Fiesta Bowl featuring number 10 Miami and number 6 Ole Miss. We've got two teams that we didn't expect to be here. I think really, I heard somebody else say this, and I'm not going to take credit for this either, but I think this is, you can really clarify this as the can't do it bowl, right? A lot of people said before, even during the regular season and when Miami got in, and even when Ole Miss got in, whether Kiffin was here or Kiffin wasn't, right? They can't do it. Miami can't win on the road. Miami can't, compete with Ohio State. Ole Miss can't, do it without Lane Kiffin. They can't beat Kirby Smart, right? Regrettably said some of those statements, right? I mean, especially against the Ole Miss stuff and Kirby Smart and things like that. Miami and A&M, Miami and Ohio State. We've doubted these teams throughout these playoffs, other than Ole Miss and Tulane, right? So that's been a lot of what these two teams are. They've battled through a lot of adversity on their end, and it's going to be a very interesting one to say. I think this game, obviously out of the two, it's the hardest one to predict, right? If you come in and you look at, how they've gotten here, Ole Miss has done it with a lot of offense, and Miami's done it with a lot of defense. And you really want to, where does the rubber hit the road? Is this the game where Carson Beck's going to have to make some big plays to keep Miami in it? Or is Miami's defense, especially that defensive line, so good that they're going to completely shut down the run game like they've done these past couple games and keep Trinidad Chambliss in check? Like, really, what's going to happen? I've gone really back and forth. I know what I want to happen, and then there's in my head what I think will happen, right? So, because Miami, they're going to run the ball on Ole Miss. Ole Miss ranks around number 60th in the nation as far as run defense. They ran for 175 yards against Texas A&M, and then they ran for 153 yards on Ohio State. It's going to happen. Fletcher's going to get his, chunky yards. Where does that stop? Does Carson Beck, he doesn't need to throw for 300 yards. Can Carson Beck get another 150-yard game and they can just grind it out, keep Ole Miss? Trinidad Chambliss on the other side, they've scored a lot of points. They scored 39 this past week. They scored 40, the week before on Tulane. Miami's defense has held A&M and Ohio State to a combined 17 points. So there's a lot here that I'm not sure about. Chambliss threw for 346 yards against Tulane, 362 against Georgia. They ran the ball 151 yards versus Tulane and 111 versus Georgia. So we thought Georgia's defense was really, stellar. Looked like they were all season, and, they were able to move the ball up and down the field on them. So, anyways, go for it. I've been talking too much.
Man, I still not totally sure in my mind. I've been thinking about this one a lot too. The matchup is interesting because Ole Miss you hit it. It's a high-flying offense. They're in the top 5 in the country in offensive production?
Correct.
They score an average of 30-something, 35 points a game, and they've done it on the best of the best and the worst of the worst. It's consistent across the board. I can't remember anybody holding them under 30, so not even Georgia, and they played Georgia twice. And I think Oklahoma was the one team that held them under 30, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, it was right at 30, I think.
Right at 30. So I feel like it's something that Miami hasn't faced, but it's not like Miami doesn't have a stellar defense. And you mentioned it on the last episode. It's not like Ole Miss has a bunch of speedsters or super exciting wide receivers. It's just a very efficient scheme and a very consistent run game at the right times. And then you have the X factor in Trinidad Chambliss and what he's able to do with his legs, what he's able to do to extend plays. And when you look at, the teams that Miami played that had a somewhat mobile quarterback, you look at Louisville with Miller Moss, and he has the ability to use his legs a little bit and did that in specific times at the right times. He was able to do it and escape the pocket and extend plays and extend drives. I think that's the biggest thing is the drive extension. And then you look at SMU, their quarterback also a dual threat guy, not super athletic, but able to extend drives and extend plays. So then you start thinking about Trinidad, and he's four times the quarterback that these guys are, both with his running ability and his throwing ability. And the overall talent level around him is better than both of those teams. So my initial thought is Ole Miss is going to have a whole lot of success on offense, which I think would be problems because I don't think Miami wants to get in a shootout with Ole Miss.
No, absolutely not. You're correct.
I don't think anybody wants to get in a shootout with Ole Miss. I mean, Georgia tried it and they were successful once and unsuccessful the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So I see Miami doing what Georgia did the first go round, but being a lot more assertive about it. And that's slowing the game down tremendously, really relying on Mark Fletcher to carry the weight of the team, and then just asking Carson Beck to do the very minimum to keep drives alive when you need to in a third and short situation. And I don't know that I trust Ole Miss defense to not allow them to do that. So you kind of have this perfect storm, really, of an Ole Miss defense that's not super stellar and an Ole Miss offense that's really, really good against a Miami defense that's pretty damn good. So when I look at this one, I feel like it's just going to come down to really just, I don't know, assignment discipline on Miami's defense and whether or not they're actually able to get home because this defensive line that Miami has, Ole Miss hasn't played anything like this. Oklahoma would be the closest thing that I could think of that they've played all year long to this Miami front. And this Miami front's a hell of a lot better than Oklahoma's, in my opinion. So you look at the one game where Ole Miss kind of struggled a little bit on offense, and I say struggled, they still put up 30. So I'm leaning towards Ole Miss. I'm gonna go out a limb because that's what we do here. I'm gonna say Ole Miss is gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be a shootout. I think the first one to 30 wins the game, and I think Ole Miss is gonna win something like 35 to 24.
Okay. You had me going back and forth on what I wanted to do there, and I think that the way you talked about Louisville, way you talked about SMU and those quarterbacks, I didn't want to come in here and say, okay, I'm going to place my bet or my prediction on what a quarterback may do when he gets out of the pocket and can extend plays and do those kind of crazy things, right? But the more I think about it right now, and I sit there, you look at Louisville, SMU, and then we talk about, what Marcel Reed was able to do with his legs on the ground as well. And these two are very similar quarterbacks in the fact that they can move around the pocket, they can extend plays. They're not going to beat you on long runs or outrun you or anything like that, but they're very good scramblers. And then you take into consideration that Trinidad is a better thrower of the football than Marcel. It makes me want to go back and forth on this. And you're not going to get into that big win conundrum that they had in College Station. So what I want to do is pick Ole Miss. We both, every time me and you pick the same team, it's gone wrong. Other than when we picked Ole Miss against Tulane and then Oregon against JMU, every other time it's gone wrong. So that makes me worried too, because I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And my head says pick Miami is really what my head says. But if Trinidad can make those things happen and they can, put points on the board, I don't trust Carson Beck to go blow for blow against Trinidad. If Miami's run game can come out here and they can continue to do what they've done, and I believe they will, that's really what's going to happen there is that if they can put that pressure on them, score early. Man, I want Ole Miss to win, but Miami's defense has just been stellar. So I'm going to take Miami in this one. Miami covers. They're 3-point favorite. I think Miami covers and they win by 6. That's what I'm going to take. So I don't want to. I want Ole Miss to win. I'm going to cheer for Ole Miss, but it's hard for me to pick Miami the way that their defense is played, and Carson Beck's going to have to prove that he can make that play when he needs to. So
Yeah, I think You added an extra point there that just solidified my pick in my mind. And I didn't even think about Marcel Reed and what he was able to do on the ground against Miami.
Yep.
And you talk about being a one bad play away from potentially that outcome of that game being different. And then I think about Trinidad Chambliss' throwing ability compared to Marcel Reed's. And
Yep.
Trinidad can actually hit a long ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's one kryptonite of Miami's is a lot of people don't try it. They don't try to take deep shots, and Ole Miss ain't scared to throw deep shots against anybody. So, yeah, give me Ole Miss. I'm feeling much better
Yeah.
about it.
I know, and I should pick Ole Miss. I really should. Just whatever reason, I have no
Now,
idea.
for what it's worth, I did see that the only LSU assistant that's coaching in this game is Charlie Weiss.
Yeah.
There was a running backs coach and a passing game coordinator, maybe, and a couple of other guys, a strength and conditioning coach that were at the last two games that aren't going to be there at this next one. I don't know that matters,
Yeah,
but
no, Lane Kiffin's got to stick up his ass, and he's all mad now because he can't be there. So, you made your bed, you got to lay in it. Now he's taking all his people from him. But that is what it is.
TikTok's going to
So,
attack you for that.
oh, they are. I mean, TikTok. Screw
They're going to
those.
say you have a stick up your ass.
It's literally happening right now. I'm looking down here at these comments that are coming in because we talked about how, Tech is going to how they hurt the Big 12 going forward, and people are arguing about it. Like, you're an idiot. You're this and that. You're a douchebag. Okay, dude. Like, whatever. Have an actual opinion, but whatever. That'll be a great game. Really looking forward to that one. I do hope Ole Miss wins. I really do because big Trinidad Chambliss fan. It's just tough for me. So maybe me picking Miami will let Ole Miss win, but we'll see. I don't think there's anything else there that I can think of. I feel like there was something on top of that I needed to cover, and I don't remember what it was. So maybe,
Injuries? Is there injuries we need to know about?
there's no injuries that I can think of, but I'm glad you brought up the coaching because some of that does worry me a little bit. If they had those guys that had to fly back and forth, it's just going to be interesting to see how they react to that and game plan properly. So Charlie Weiss is going to help that out tremendously, just as far as making sure that they're still on pace and doing those things. So
There was a time in that last game against Georgia too where my concern with Pete Golding was being the guy to make those decisions. It's sure you have all your coordinators and assistant coaches that do the majority of the lifting, but when it comes down to like a fourth down situation and you look at the time that's remaining, where the momentum's swinging, what you got going on, there was a point in time there where Georgia was taking control and Ole Miss had a very short 3-and-out, and they were in a position where he could have decided. It was a decision making time, and he made a decision definitively. And I thought that would be a situation where he would shit the bed,
yep.
and he didn't. He made it with conviction, stood by it, trusted his defense, and they ended up getting a stop that they needed. So I have a lot more confidence in his decision making and just being able to stand behind it. So
The
if it
biggest
comes
thing is,
down to a close situation, I don't trust Mario Cristobal at all.
see, that's the thing too, is that people think Mario Cristobal can't do it, but he's come and he's done it and he's made it. And Mario Cristobal stuck by his guns. I feel like as a coach, it's really important that you stick by your guns and do what you feel's right. And at the end of the day, if you can say, "Hey, this is the coach I've been. That's what we're gonna do," and Pete Golding's really showing that that's what he is too. So, uh, yeah, Cristobal's been the butt of the joke for a long time. So these are two coaches that have something to prove. It'd be really interesting to see. That they're going to make a 30 for 30 about this probably Ole Miss team at one point. How's this game going to play out? Everybody's going to talk about the Sugar Bowl. What does that look like is it just, oh, we forgot about this game and the season was whatever because the Sugar Bowl was their national championship? Or is it, man, this has really, really propelled them and did this going forward? So
Yep.
interesting to see.